russo non lo accetterebbe. Questo porta ad avere magari di uno stesso argomento 2 pagine con un senso radicalmente diverso, è una cosa che ho verificato io. Voi come, diciamo, intendete risolvere questa cosa e, diciamo, la vedete come un problema? Grazie.
Okay. Yeah, so the first question was about cooperations with universities. Traditionally, we've not been very good at formal cooperations because formal cooperations normally mean there would be some money involved in some way, and we have no money. So we just say, will you come and help us? And maybe they say yes, or maybe they say no. The kinds of formal cooperations that we are doing today have not been around those kinds of things that you were mentioning about getting people to edit in a certain area. Although I'll talk a little bit about the Wikipedia Academy idea, which is something like that. The kinds of cooperations that we are more and more successful, particularly in Europe, because we have the local chapters who are working on this kind of thing often, is we are getting archives and libraries and museums which have access to archival content that would be useful for Wikipedia to donate it under a free license so that other people can use it. So I think one of the largest projects like this is the Bundesarchiv in Germany, which is the government archive. They have a huge, massive archive of historical photographs, which they have the copyrights to, and they're making that available under a free license because they realize that their mission is to preserve this history archive and to share it with the public. And what better way to share it with the public than to give it away under a free license so that anyone can use it and these things get incorporated in Wikipedia. We've also had some interesting and positive experiences with museums who are now contributing images to Wikipedia of paintings and images of artwork in the museum. Museums used to sometimes fight us about this. They didn't want that because they think, well, if someone sees it on the internet, they won't come to the museum. But of course, the opposite is true. The more that they encourage culture and the more that people come and read and learn about a work of art, well, if you see a small photo of the Mona Lisa in Wikipedia, it doesn't stop you from going to the Louvre to see it. It makes you more interested to go and see it. And so they realize this. So those kind of cooperations are actually, those are more formal cooperations. Those are coming very well. The one thing that we do with professors is all around we're holding Wikipedia Academy. This started in Germany where they hold a one-day seminar where they invite academics, graduate students and students to come and learn about how to edit Wikipedia. And it's about reaching out and trying to bring in good quality authors. But it's not a formal cooperation with the institution necessarily. It's getting them to agree to let us have a lecture hall and to invite the professors to come, and then some local Wikipedians will come and explain how Wikipedia works and try to encourage people to participate. I just came from Norway. We just did this in Norway, in Bergen, where we had a little event and we had academics come and we were talking to them about Wikipedia, and we hope that will bring in good quality authors in areas where we need more strength. Then there was a second question, which I guess is the last question.
The difference of one thing is in a language, in a country.
The bias across different. You can see why I need to have everything written down on the internet, because I can't remember anything for more than 5 minutes. So I just have to. The second question I think is one of the most interesting philosophical questions about Wikipedia, which is what does neutrality mean and how does it change across different cultures? So first of all, I think most people have an understanding of neutrality that's basically the same. And that's true across all different cultures. The philosophical idea of neutrality. The idea here is that if there is a significant controversy about something, Wikipedia should tell me about the controversy, tell me what the different people have said about it, present things in such a way that someone who's on this side or someone who's on this side, they will both look at it and they will say, yeah, that's a valid description of what we've been arguing about. And so if I go to read a certain entry about some historical event that is still considered to be somehow controversial, I should learn about the controversy. I should learn who says what and why and what the arguments are, and then I can be better positioned to do further research and to make up my own mind. And for the most part, as you said, Wikipedia does a really good job of this. One of the things that can happen, though, is that within a particular culture, people may not even have an understanding of what the other side is saying because they're from a different culture. This happens not so much around topics of really major global importance. In this, there's enough Italians who have different perspectives on Berlusconi, for example, that you're going to get a pretty good article. And the same would be true in the U.S. People have different opinions of Berlusconi, and so that there's going to be enough input that people can understand. These are the things that the supporters say and the opponents say, and things like this. Where it gets really hard is on maybe some obscure topics where not many people know about it. The one example, actually, I'll give two examples. So one example that was brought to my attention is there's an island that's between South Korea and Japan. That is in dispute. It's a dispute about who does this island belong to? Is it Japanese or is it Korean? Currently, the Japanese hold it. They have a little outpost with some soldiers on it to make sure the Koreans don't take it. But as far as I'm able to tell, it's just some rocks in the ocean. They should both say, flip a coin. Who cares? It's not that important. I mean, it really is not much of an island. But it's a traditional fight, and they've been fighting about it for a long time. And what was told to me is that in the Japanese Wikipedia, it just reported very uncontroversially, Japanese island, blah, 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 with a little note at the bottom that said, oh, and by the way, the Koreans think it's theirs. And then in Korea Wikipedia, it said, occupied territory. Well, somebody noticed this is the important thing. So someone who can speak both Japanese and Korean noticed this, brought it to the attention of both communities, and people went in and looked at it, and they said, oh yeah, actually, we need to improve this entry because there is a controversy, and we need to explain the controversy and not take sides. The other example that I know of was the question of the invention of the airplane. So very quickly, in Italy, who would you say invented the airplane? The Wright brothers? Is that the most common? Well, so for English-speaking children, this is one of the basic facts you learn. This is the color white. The moon is in the sky. The Wright brothers invented the airplane. There's no controversy about this whatsoever, and no sane person ever questioned it. Apparently in France, they're told a very similar story, except for some guy I never heard of invented the airplane, who was in France, and he's a Brazilian and so forth. But what was interesting about this is that this story about who invented the airplane is something everyone learns as a child and learns the same basic story, but it's a different story is told in France. They have a different understanding of it. Well, it turns out that, in fact, so someone noticed this, and they said, well, look, the English Wikipedia and the French Wikipedia have a completely different story. This is very early days. Well, today, I can't read French, so I don't know, but it's in the French Wikipedia. But today, in the English Wikipedia, when you go and you read the history of aviation, you get a wonderful, much more detailed story, and you begin to understand that, see, I always had this idea as a child that there were all these crazy people you've seen the old newsreels, flapping wings and balloons, and then these geniuses invented an actual airplane, and you sort of think that's the history of it. It's not correct. Yeah, there were crazy people, of course, but the field of aviation was an active science under development. There were a lot of people who realized the possibility of flight, and there were a lot of people working on the shape of the wings and thinking about aerodynamics, and a lot of experiments going on, perfectly legitimate. The way I understand the story now, and it's been a while since I reviewed it, the Wright brothers when they flew further with a powered flight. They flew further than they could have with a glider. And so that was the first powered flight that was actually better than a glider. But the Wright brothers, they started on a hill and they only went down, which is, well, it's nice, but it's not that useful. Whereas the guy in France was the first to actually go up. And so both are important innovations. Like they were able to say, look, aerodynamically, we are able now to go further than a glider could on its own. But then, well, that's not quite it. You have to go up. And so there are competing claims to originality there. And it's actually a much more interesting story this way. And so now the English Wikipedia, because of the meeting of cultures, has a much better understanding of this and is actually quite neutral. So I think it's just it's a matter of time. I mean, I think it's a matter of people learning different things. And I think the problems between different languages are actually mostly fairly small, simply because